Hey everybody, welcome into another episode of HBCU Huddle. I am CJ Hurt. Mike Wallace joins me as always on the Skype. Mike, what's going on, baby?
Hey, everything's going on, man. Football playoffs, HBCU's doing big things in basketball. We got a special culture maker. I'm going to let you set all that up, man, but I'm excited about this week's show. We're getting down to the nitty gritty, man. We're getting down to the put up or shut up time in HBCU football and beyond, and I can't wait to talk about it.
I got those Tuskegee, the Nike Terminator High Tuskegee edition that's sitting right here, right there. Y'all can hear me thumping them. We're going to unbox those and talk about those on the show. We will also preview North Carolina Central and Benedict's, their games in the playoffs this week. North Carolina Central in the FCS playoff, Benedict in the D2 playoffs, and much, much more. But first, let's start in the Bayou. Let's start with the Bayou Classic, Mike. I've never been, hadn't had a chance to go. You've been a handful of times. What is that classic like, and can you describe the environment? Put me specifically in the environment at the Bayou Classic this week.
Well, it's special for me because I'm a Grambling State University alum. I went down there. That was my, I remember my first time, my freshman year, coming out of basketball, going into basketball season, preparing, and then right before that season really kind of got kicked off, you would get down to New Orleans and it was the sights, the smells, the sounds, beautiful, hundreds of thousands of beautiful Black people, loving their HBCUs, loving their schools, loving on each other. And as much as like in Louisiana, and I'm sure this is the case, in bigger schools, mainstream universities across the country. But in Louisiana, you literally have husbands who are Grambling grads married to Southern grads who are their wives. And you have your children, your son went to Grambling, your daughter went to Southern. And so it really was that a rivalry in the household. But you all showed up for the gumbo. Everybody, I remember rolling through the streets, through the French Quarter, hanging out with just guys that I didn't even know. Like you had one or two guys that you hang out with, and they have two or three other guys that they hang out with. So you're kind of 6 degrees of separation. You get to 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then all of a sudden y'all hungry. And one of the dudes is like, hey, yeah, just fall over my house, man. We're going to go over my mama's house. And you end up in somebody's mother's house at 2:30 in the morning eating gumbo in New Orleans. And all of y'all are just like, some of y'all are going to college. Some of y'all just dropped out. Some people got credits. Some people just got their refund check. Y'all all just there, man. And, that's the feeling of the Bayou Classic. And then when the game time rolls around, you seeing Pete Richardson. During my years, Pete Richardson was at Southern. Eddie Robinson was at Grambling State and filling up 70,000 in the Louisiana Superdome, man. It's just a beautiful, beautiful atmosphere. The weather was always great. I remember Jada Pinkett was down there one year when we were all down there. This was before she married Will, and she was still, she had Southern gear on. Yeah. And we saw her, and everybody booed her from Grambling. Everybody loved her from Southern. Mr. Cal was just coming out, dropping his stuff, man.
Oh, yes.
It was, and then he had Mystical on his first album. He had the Grambling hockey sweater on, and it was just. I know I'm going on and on and on, but you could tell.
But it matters. This matters. This is a cultural thing, Mike.
CJ, this was 30 years ago, and I'm talking to you about it like it happened last week. So that tells you how excited that we are when it comes to this HBCU brand, this culture, this lifestyle, and what it means and what it represents this coming weekend.
And it could have been for so much more had the tiebreakers come into play in the SWAC West. Prairie View A&M went out there and basically effectively ended the tiebreaker scenarios by going out there and taking care of business this past weekend. They are your SWAC West champions. They'll take on Florida A&M next week in the SWAC championship game to decide who's going to meet Howard in the Celebration Bowl. We'll talk about that next week. But even though the chance to be SWAC West champion is off of the table, this game matters just from a rivalry standpoint, like you said, Mike. And you've got a team in Southern who just let their coach go, and in Grambling whose coach could use a bit of a more solid footing. I'm not saying that Hugh Jackson is on the hot seat, but a loss right here may put him on that hot seat, especially when you think about the fact that they another year has come and gone, and they aren't representing the SWAC West, and the SWAC championship game will be another loss to Southern. Grambling State could really use this win to make the season feel like it wasn't a bad season, like it may have been close to a good season or a sign of good things to come, Mike.
It comes down to this one game, CJ, that defines Grambling's season. You win this game, and there's something to build from, right? You turned a corner this season. You were within a SWAC Western Division championship with 2 weeks left in the season. You gave yourself a chance to be in the discussion with 2 weeks left in the season, and you beat Southern. That right there is the icing on the cake of a pretty strong season. Now, it doesn't meet expectation, but it certainly gives Hugh a chance to Hugh Jackson a chance to go into next season, one more year of his recruiting class, one more year of his system, and you say, okay, next year you got to win the division, get to the SWAC championship game to take the next step. But if you lose this game to Southern, all bets are off. This becomes another one of those meh kind of seasons, and you had 3 of those already, and now the hot seat comes on you next year. So either you're playing for a contract extension if you beat Southern going into next season with hope, or you're playing for, lame duck status if you lose this one and you go into next year, and then people are going to start scratching their heads wondering, okay, who can come to Grambling and turn this thing back around again?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The Turkey Day Classic is also taking place. I'm really glad that Tuskegee is back in that classic, taking on Alabama State. Listen, it's a FCS school. It's an FCS HBCU in Alabama, and the last time those Golden Tigers played an FCS HBCU in Alabama was Alabama A&M, a homecoming, and they got whacked. So here's hoping, fingers crossed, my Golden Tigers can go out there and if not beat Alabama State. I want them to beat Alabama State, let me be clear. At the very least, keep it close, my goodness. Fingers crossed on that, Mike. Looking ahead to, well, not looking ahead, let's look at some rankings right now before we make our picks for this week. We start with the box row rankings.
You got games coming up this week too, right? So I mean, it's you have a lot of things going on, and I guess we can allude to that when we get to the rankings there. But what happened leading up to this week, it made last week relevant. This week is relevant, and then you go into even a step further, man. And these rankings will show you some of the teams that still have plenty to play for.
Before we look at box to row, let's look at the FCS rankings, where you look in the top 5. You'll see a familiar face. Florida A&M has managed to jump up into the top 5 of the FCS rankings. You got South Dakota State, Montana, South Dakota, Idaho, and right there at 10-1, Florida A&M, number 5 in the FCS polls. Unfortunately, because the SWAC championship takes place after the playoffs start at the FCS level, if Florida A&M doesn't win the SWAC, they'll be sitting at home on the couch. They won't get a postseason game, Mike.
It's the best of both worlds, though, for Florida A&M, because if you're Willie Simmons, you say, hey, we finished the regular season top 5 in the country, not in HBCU alone, but in the country. And that's the highest that they've been ranked ever when it comes to that. This is not the furthest that they finished. I covered that Billy Joe coached Florida A&M Rattlers team that put up all those yards and broke all of those Division I AA records for offense back in the late 90s, early 2000s, that got all the way to the Final Four of the FCS playoffs in that year. That was probably the strongest finish that we've seen in 3 or 4 decades from an HBCU. But to go top 5, kudos to Willie Simmons. He deserves everything that he's getting with that team. This has been a steady build to a season where they can finish in a magical way. And they're undefeated on their level. They have not lost a game to an FCS team. Their only loss was to South Florida. And they were in that game. So this is a magical season. They won't be able to play in the playoffs, but if they cap it with a victory in the SWAC championship game and then a Celebration Bowl impressive performance, bar none, they are the best team in the country when it comes to HBCU ranks and one of the best teams in the country overall.
Absolutely, absolutely. So FAMU is number 5 in the, I do believe, media polls for the FCS. They're number 1 in the box to row polls as we take a look at those. FAMU is 1. Benedict is 2. North Carolina Central is 3. Those two teams have postseason games going on this weekend. When you think about Benedict playing in the D2 playoffs, North Carolina Central playing in the FCS playoffs against Richmond, I do believe. Mike, Which one of these teams do you think both of them advance to the next round, or do you think one of them, none of them? Which one, if you were to make the pick, would you have going to the next round of their respective tournament?
I think North Carolina Central has the stronger chance to advance. Richmond is a team that they're familiar with. They played against other teams that played against Richmond this season. Richmond is in the CAA conference. Morgan State got a win over Richmond early in the season. And North Carolina Central beat Morgan State. Hampton got a win against Richmond earlier this season. And Hampton is a team that obviously North Carolina Central is familiar with. So Richmond started off struggling, but they back-ended their way into a really, really nice season. I think this is as much of a toss-up in the FCS playoffs as any other matchup in the first round. But I do think North Carolina Central regained some of his swagger, some of his confidence. Davius Richard had another 5 or 6 touchdown performance last week to cap their season. So I think they have a chance to go into that game with the win. It's a short trip. It's not that long that they have to travel to get up to Richmond from Raleigh. And they have a chance to really do something special. Benedict, you have the number 1 seed. You had a bye last week. So whoever you're playing on Saturday had to already go through one game. So rhythm versus rust might come into the question there. But if you're Benedict, you've had the best defense in the country all year long. This is the season where you want to say, hey, we had a bye last year, got in, and we lost in the first round. We can't let that happen this year. So I think both teams have a chance to win. If I'm having to pick, I would say the first thing I would do is pick both teams to win. But if I had to choose which one had the better chance to win, I would say North Carolina Central over Benedict, just because of the unknown of the Division II rankings.
I am really, really interested in this Benedict football team now. Last year, they did similar things in the SEAC where they just ran through teams, where they just held, you couldn't move the ball against them. And they got to the playoffs, they gave up 30-plus points and more than a couple hundred yards. And it was like, ooh, that defense wasn't what I thought it was. This is the second straight year for Benedict, like you said, having the D2's best defense, best rush defense. Like, they are really, really solid. To this point of the year, they've been really, really solid up front defensively. And I wonder if playing better competition, what that defense looks like and what that defense will be capable of doing. So I look forward to watching them go out there and compete and hopefully get to the next round. And I'm with you 1,000% on North Carolina Central. They righted the ship with Davius Richard. It looks like against Morgan State last week, it's different. Playing Morgan State and then stepping up and playing Richmond is a big difference. But I saw this team last year, postseason-wise, same coach, same running back, same quarterback, go out there and not just give Jackson State all they can handle, but go out there and win the Celebration Bowl in overtime thanks to Davius Richard. I look forward to seeing them play Richmond. I would expect them to win as well. Going back to the rankings, Howard, your MEAC champion, comes in at number 4 in the Box to Row rankings, followed by Virginia Union at 5, Alcorn State at 6, Prairie View A&M, SWAC West champion at 7, Virginia State at 8, Jackson State at 9, and Fayetteville State at 10. Mike, when we look at your rankings, you have North Carolina Central way down there at 4. And I saw that, I was like, ooh, wait, Mike is a hater. But then I thought about it, hold up. North Carolina Central played Howard. They lost to Howard. Howard is the MEAC champion. It makes sense to me, Mike.
And you know what? When I submitted my ballot, that very ballot that you saw right there, I submitted it, and then I called the connoisseur and the architect of the HBCU coaches, the curator of the HBCU coaches and media poll, our cousin, Donald Ware, friend of the show. And I said, hey, here's what I'm doing. And I noticed it didn't come out in the national ballot poll the same way. But the reason why I'm putting Howard over North Carolina Central is because when you beat somebody head to head, especially at this stage of the season, it looks strange to me to put Central over Howard in that situation. What else does Howard have to do? You know what I mean? And really, if you look at Howard, they finished 6-5. They should have been a little bit better than that because they let some games get away that they should have won or they could have won. A couple of one-possession games could have gone their way. They took the Big Ten's Northwestern, which is going to a bowl, which is playing for bowl eligibility to be in a bowl this year, FBS bowl. They took them down to 3 points. It was 23-20 on the road at Northwestern. So Howard is a strong team. They finished the season really, really strong, they beat you by 30 points, 20 points, 30 points, they had to get ranked over North Carolina Central in my poll. It didn't come out that way when everybody's poll collectively came together for the poll, but my ballot reflected Howard being the better team and ranked above North Carolina Central. And that you got to give them credit because they're still playing too. They got a game to play as well in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You had Virginia Union, I do believe 7. I think they were 5 in the box to row once he curated them all. They were 5 there. Virginia Union fell to Kutztown last weekend. Kutztown took a 21-0 lead and just never really looked back. Yeah. Virginia Union was a holding opponent, so about 37 rushing yards per game. In that contest, the Golden Bears ran for over 200 yards. So better luck next year. Here's hoping that Benedict fares a bit better. We've got a whole lot more to get to on the other side, including, you hear me smacking it, the unboxing. We got our picks. We're absolutely going to get to our picks. We didn't get to them last week. We're going to get to them this week. We got that and more coming up next on HBCU Huddle on Grind City Media.
We're going dancing. Welcome to Fandom 101. We need you going crazy in the stands. Oh! Your path to fan mastery begins here. It's all part of the curriculum. The NCAA Division I men's basketball first and second rounds this March in Memphis, Tennessee. Attendance is encouraged. Passion is mandatory. Buy your seats today at ncaa.com/MVB tickets. Class dismissed.
Can't wait. I mean, we're going to have a new roster.
The Memphis Grizzlies welcome their newest Grizzly, Marcus Smart.
Coming to Memphis, that blue collar, is going to be great. So to be able to go out there and try to bring the championship to that city, it's an honor.
We're all hungry.
Let's go, big dog. Keep fighting, keep fighting.
We're super excited to be in front of the best fans in the league and hopefully deliver a memorable season.
8-time Grammy Award-winning Anita Baker. Anita Baker, the songstress, live in concert. For one night only. FedEx Forum, November 22nd, 2023. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Don't miss your chance to see the legendary Anita Baker live in Memphis.
10 feet ahead of you, catch me in something you'll never do. I turn around and I level you, no motivation is needed. Look, I put myself on the pedestal, this is incredible.
Take your fandom to the next level with the official Grizzlies app. Go all access and behind the scenes.
It's got to be heavy defense. That's where it starts for us.
Personalized to where you are and who you are. Get easy access to ticketing, the game day guide, and your own app customization right at your fingertips. Upgrade your experience and download the Grizzlies app today.
Against Missouri, the Jackson State Tigers knocked off the Missouri Tigers this weekend, getting their first win of the season and knocking off a Power 5 opponent. Mike Jordan O'Neal had 18. Ken Evans Jr. had 22. Colty Young added 14 to that. And Chase Adams was a young man you saw hit that fadeaway shot to give Jackson State the big win. Mike Wallace.
Hey, you know what? Mo Williams said that he was going to go big game hunting. You know what I mean? They tried to do the same thing the University of Memphis when they came and opened their season a week and a half, 2 weeks ago against the Tigers here at FedEx Forum. They came up short, but they said, hey, we're right there. We're in these games not just to collect the check. We're in these games to get wins. And, you know, you look at Jackson State, that was a team that had a strong season last year, came up a little bit short of their goals to get through the postseason. But they fared well in the SWAC tournament and that kind of thing. But to get that win over Missouri, not only does it show that these teams, these HBCUs, when it comes to basketball, they're not far away, man. On any given night, this can happen. And it threw a little bit of a monkey wrench in Memphis's strength of schedule, because Memphis's biggest win prior to going to the Bahamas, where they are now for Battle of Atlantis, was against that same Missouri team. So now when Jackson State beats your biggest opponent so far, it weakens what your strength of schedule look like. So, hey, or maybe it strengthens their schedule because, hey, now Jackson State was the biggest opponent you had, right? Yeah. So good kudos to Mo Williams, former NBA All-Star, Cleveland Cavaliers guard, LeBron James teammate, for getting Jackson State doing the big things that they're doing.
Not to be outdone, Coppin State, their women said, hold my beer. We're going to go out there and get ourselves a Power 5 win. They knocked off Pittsburgh 61-56. Layla Lawrence went for 16 points and 12 rebounds. Tiffany Hammond and Faith Blackstone added 15 apiece. This is Coppin State's first win over a Power 5 school. Just wanted to take a moment and give those young men and women a special shout out on today's show. We should have took a moment out last week to do our picks. We made picks. We built the graphics for the picks. We just got so excited talking about Anita Baker that we forgot to do them. So let's look at last week's picks, which we didn't talk about, but we can throw them up because it absolutely is going to count towards the overall record. Last week, Mike went 4-2. He had Alabama State over Prairie View A&M and Virginia Union over Kutztown. Those were his only two losses. He hit on Alcorn State over JSU, Howard over Morgan State, North Carolina Central over Delaware State, FAMU over Bethune-Cookman. Mike, looking back at last week's pick, anything stand out to you?
Yeah, that I didn't know what, where, or how Kutztown was going to play. I've never heard of that school, and I was going with my heart again, and you told me all season long, don't go with your heart because it leads you into bad spots. And I wanted to believe Virginia Union was not just HBCU dominant, but potentially Division II competitive and dominant in the playoffs, and they just weren't. You talked about it, but other than that, I can live with everything else that had happened on that board. I thought Alabama State was ready to end their season with a nice little cherry on the top for Coach Eddie Robinson down there. They couldn't do it. Prairie View, kudos to them. And before we get to your picks, shout out to Prairie View A&M and running back, senior grad transfer running back, Caleb Johnson. We had Caleb on our show last year going into the HBCU season when he was at Mississippi Valley State University. We sat down with him, went down to Itabena and sat down with him going into that season with Valley. He since transferred, went to Prairie View in that backfield, starting as a tailback, and now he's going to be in the SWAC championship game to play Florida A&M. I reached out to him, trying to get him on the show, either before they play that game or to recap their season once we get through. So hopefully you'll be hearing from Caleb pretty soon. Memphis native, Caleb Johnson. So you got a rooting interest in Memphis for this SWAC championship game. You're going with Prairie View A&M.
Absolutely. Look at Mike's overall is 47-17. When we take a look at my pick sixes, I was wrong on Jackson State over Alcorn State. TC Taylor still had a really, really good year by my standards. I missed on Morgan State over Howard. I was expecting Howard to do something goofy, and they didn't. Hats off to them on winning the MEAC and going to the Celebration Bowl. And I also missed on Kutztown, Virginia Union. As we look at the overall record, though, I'm 47-17. Mike is 47-17. We're coming down to it. Yeah, it's tied up, Mike.
Okay,
it's all tied up.
That means we either know what we're talking about or we absolutely do not. So one way or another, we're in this together.
Looking at this week's pick six, we'll start with that Turkey Day Classic. Tuskegee taking on Alabama State. Mike, who do you like?
I have Alabama State. I'm still going to go Alabama State, and I respect Tuskegee. I think they're they restabilized the program. Say what you will about the ups and downs that we've seen them go through this season. When you look at their overall performance over the last 2 or 3 years, they've started to stabilize that program and solid. But I think Alabama State gets the winning out.
Grambling State, Southern, Bayou Classic.
Southern is going through controversy. They have an interim coach. The program, the fan base, there's some apathy there. But in the Bayou Classic, you throw all that out the window. They're going to give Grambling everything Grambling can asked for, but I think Grambling has the stability in the defense and the running game to finally get over the top and beat Southern in this thing.
Benedict taking on Lenoir in the D2 playoffs.
I like Benedict. I believe in them now. Like it's not a Virginia Union situation where you beat up on HBCUs at your level and in your conference and then go out there and you're fodder for another team. I think they're ready to prove that, hey, they are a legitimate number one seed, and I think they're going to at least get through the first round of the Division II playoffs.
North Carolina Central and Richmond.
Central, it's their time, man. It's their time. They didn't get the MEAC championship, but they have something that they could do. They can be the first team to go from winning a HBCU Celebration Bowl national championship to making a long, really, really good run, if not a championship run in division, the FCS. They got to start by beating a familiar foe in Richmond.
And because we have decided that, not we, Mike has decided, you people out there. Remember when Colorado was winning those 3 games? It was HBCU.
Yeah, HBCU adjacent.
Yeah, they're HBCU now. They're the only HBCU on the P5. Y'all remember saying all of that? Well, because we're low on games, we got a Colorado game to pick. Colorado takes on Utah. Utah is a 22-point favorite over the Colorado Buffs, who are looking for their first win since that Colorado State game. Mike, who you taking there?
Utah, man. This Colorado team has been the biggest disappointment compared to where expectations that they put themselves on. Dion and that group talked a big game. They flashed all of the jewelry. They did all of this. We coming, we here. They've lost 7 of their last 8 games. They become a joke. They quit in a couple of these games recently, getting blown out left and right. I think Utah has to have a bounce-back performance, and I think they use Colorado, especially at home, as fodder for that. And we'll see whether Shedeur plays. He didn't even play. He didn't finish the last game they played against Washington State. Now they got to go back that way to play Utah. I think Utah knocks them out. And then I think hopefully Deion Sanders exits this season with a little humility and a little more work ethic to figure out how to fix this team instead of critiquing it and criticizing it and making it about him every single week.
I think that the frustration, I'm not frustrated at all. I still think this is a really, really good year for Colorado when you look at what they've been and where that program was. Right? Like,
see, I think people. See, I'm gonna let you finish, man. But I think people dismissed the 1-11 last year under Carl Durrell. Yeah, that was the rock bottom. But before that, this was a 500 middling team. Before then, so they weren't just completely awful. And you know,
the handful of years they were awful though. It wasn't just the 1-11. They may have won 2 or 3 games each of the seasons before that.
I want to say, because just Durrell was only there, I want to say 3 years, right? But before that, Mel Tucker was there, got them, I think, bowl eligible one of those years. So you're talking within the last 4 years that they've had a winning season. They've fallen on hard times, but you're right. I mean, this is you definitely deserve your opinion and your time.
Mel put them behind the curve, because remember the D'Antoni situation. I think it's D'Antoni. I get D'Antonio and D'Antoni mixed up. Who was the Suns coach? Mike D'Antonio? Was it D'Antoni? Who was the Suns coach?
The basketball coach is Mike D'Antoni.
Okay, so right.
So there's a D'Antonio in football, and there's a D'Onofrio in football, but there's a D'Antoni in basketball.
D'Antonio, coach at Michigan State. Remember, he leaves in February or March, and then Mel Tucker takes the Michigan State job, and so D'Antonio put Michigan State behind the 8 ball, and then Michigan State scrambling to find a coach, hires Mel Tucker, who then leaves Colorado in a bit of a lurch. And so I think after that moment happened, the past couple of seasons for Colorado has been less than stellar. It's been a struggle for the Buffs in that moment. You're right that when Tucker was there, he did get them to a bowl, to not a bowl game, but 2 bowl games. I do believe multiple bowl games. But after that moment, I'm pulling it up here. Yeah, so 4-7 this year, 1-11 in 2022, 4-8, 4-2 in the shortened 2020 season. That's when Tucker, I do believe leaves Colorado. Leaves Boulder, and then 5-7, 19, 5-7, 18, 5-7, 2017 in 2018. Right, so they've been 5-7.
Yeah, they're right.
Right where they've been.
they're a little bit below that because he has to get a win now to get to 5. And then when you look at the way the losses have come, they've been getting blown the hell out in games the last month. So I think they might have taken a huge step back from where they were coming off of that, coming off that win. I
think the expectations, and they fed the flames of the expectations. The expectations weren't just from the outside. It wasn't like people were expecting the world from Colorado just on their own accord. They were, but Coach Prime and that program fed the flames of the expectations. You can't hype me up. I can't get hyped. I got hyped to Lil Jon once upon a time in like 07, 08, and I think that was the last time I got hyped. I watched that team play, and we talked about it the week after they beat Colorado State in that thrilling game. It was a great game. It was so much fun to watch. I think I pointed out, hey, this isn't two good teams playing football, though, right? And Colorado might not win another game this season. That was me. That's because I'm blind to the hype. I don't know. I can't see hype. I don't hear noise. Like that's me. And so looking at what they have done, just hype, throw the hype out. Beating TCU, getting the big win over two rivals in Nebraska and Colorado State, and getting another win for a team that had won one game, for a team and a program that really needs some offensive line depth and help, not just offensive line, defensive line. I think this is again, good season to me, but again, if you factor in all the hype that they helped flame, I can get where what you're saying, Mike, is the case, where it is just, they fell apart. Like they fell apart to Arizona. They fell apart against USC. The Oregon game was bad as well. They're getting blown out left and right in some of these games. The games you thought they would win, they weren't winning. I get it. I do understand. But if you take hype out of it and you just look at this as a college football team on the field, I think that we could. There are a lot of good things that the Colorado Buffs did this year. Yeah. But they have to do more. You're 1,000% correct. They have to do more, like find some dudes who can protect Shedeur. I'll start with my picks. I got Tuskegee. Absolutely, I got Tuskegee. Why wouldn't I have them Tuskegee Golden Tigers over Alabama State in the Turkey Day Classic? Give me Grambling State over Southern. I think Hugh Jackson gets that win. And like you said, gets the extension going into next year with the expectation to win that division. I'll take Lenoir over Benedict. I will take North Carolina Central, though, over Richmond. I think that team is poised to make a deep playoff run, something you alluded to. I'll also take Utah minus the 22. And my men's basketball pick is Norfolk State over Wichita State. I had to switch it. I had to switch it because Arkansas Pine Bluff. I had Pine Bluff over Minnesota. Then I realized, oh no, I'm watching Pine Bluff play Minnesota right now. Oh, that can't be a pick. So, and I'll tell you what we'll do. If either of us gets this upset for men's basketball, that'll count for like 3 picks. We're not picking a game. We're trying to predict the upset. So that'll be 3 wins if either one of us get that basketball upset right.
All right, Mike. But see, I didn't get. We shifted and we went on. We went off on a tangent. We went off on a tangent on Colorado.
That's how we do. We were doing so well on time. Also,
no, we're good. But my pick. If we can go back to my picks, I have Jackson State upsetting Georgetown this Saturday. They play They go to Washington D.C. to play Georgetown. That team is Georgetown's trying to find their way back. New coach, fired Patrick Ewing. And Jackson State is coming in with a bunch of confidence. I think that's another one that they can get under their resume right there if they can knock this off. So that's my upset. All
right. Those are our picks. We got to them this week, y'all. We got to them. Let's open these shoes. Look at this.
Set it up. What are we doing? These are the culture maker.
Nike Terminator highs. Nike decided to partner with 4 HBCUs, Tuskegee, Alabama A&M, Tennessee State, and who am I missing? Was it Texas Southern maybe? I think the other one was Texas Southern. They partnered with them to create a handful of shoes that really encapsulated the culture of the university, the student body, the alumni. And I got not one, I got 2 per. One's for my mama for Christmas. 2 per of them. Two
Hey, hold up. Set it up, CJ. You didn't set it up the right way, man. CJ Hurt and his purchase of these authentic HBCU inspired Nike Terminator shoes makes CJ Hurt and the creators of these shoes this week's HBCU Huddle.
Oh, I forgot I was supposed to be the culture maker.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't
yes.
remember to do that. My bad.
I took care of it. There you go.
I'm the culture maker, y'all, because I bought these shoes. Look at this, Mike. So this is I'm unboxing my mama's shoes because mine's is still in the box. I got to figure out if I'm wearing those or getting those framed. I think I should get them framed. But here's what they look like from the top, and we talked about it on the show a couple of weeks back when we were discussing it. Right there on the laces, parlay, and the other one says ball. We're going to ball and parlay at Tuskegee. That's what we do. Right there on the inside. Oh, are we zooming in? Kyra, are we zooming?
We're zooming there it is. Slow, too. Slow.
Yeah, slow. Well,
real slow and sensual. Real slow like and sensual like.
I like it. There it is.
Hey,
that
your parlay is upside down. Yeah, flip it the other way. You're good.
There's
though.
Ball. The ball is the right way.
Yes.
There's parlay. And so where's the 1881 at? So over here, you might be able to see it. You might not. But right there, there's a little writing right there. That says right 1881. Yep. That's when the university was founded. That Tuskegee gold and red that we love those on the back. It's got the Tuskegee on the back as I figure out how to turn this. I love
you got
that.
it. You got it.
Of course, right there, you got the golden tiger. You got that golden tiger. Turn it the right way, CJ. There it is, the golden tiger jumping through the T and the U. And on the inside, I'm not going to show y'all the inside, but on the inside of the sole, you can see the shed where we all sit as students or all sat as students.
Hold it though. We can see it. It's like hold it. We can see it. We can see it. You don't have to take it out. Don't take it out because don't mess it up.
I got to take the paper out.
Oh.
I got to take the
you
paper
literally
out.
are unboxing it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told you I was gonna unbox on the show, baby.
Just hold the shoe like in front of your face and then with the foot insole facing us, and we'll be able to see it.
Unknot it. There it is. Okay.
All right.
Boom. Like, can we get in there?
Yes. We can get in there a little bit.
And so there is way down, closer to the toe, sits the actual shed.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Okay.
Kyra's doing her best, boy, to keep up with my goofy
she
ass.
is.
Doing a great job, Kyra.
Yeah.
You've also got tiger claw marks on the inside of the shoe. My mom was really excited to get these. Can't wait to get them to her for Christmas. And then, I don't know, I'll probably frame mine. I'm maybe get autographs, maybe send it to famous Tuskegee alum, get some autographs on the shoe, treat it like a real collector's item. I don't know, Mike. You got any suggestions on what I do with these shoes?
Hey, man, you got to wear them at least once, and then you go ahead and get the signatures, take them down to Tuskegee next time you go. Hopefully, man, the students end up buying these things as well, too. They look beautiful, CJ. Great job on that. It's going to be a great Christmas present for your mom. She's going to love them. And I can't wait to see you with them, with yours when I get back to the office.
Shout out to Sherm for letting me know to hop on the Sneakers app. I had no clue. Never used the Sneakers app. Sherm said, hey, get on Sneakers app. Your shoes are dropping. I said, all right, I'm on it. And thank you to Jessica Benson also. She allowed me to use her sneaker karma to grab those shoes. That'll do it for this week's episode of HBCU Huddle. Hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving and eats a bunch of turkey and enjoys some good college football, college basketball games. We will be back next week. For Mike, I'm CJ. Everybody take care.